Hello and welcome to another What Sold on eBay video. I'm your host Chris, the Thrift Shop Hustler. On behalf of the American Cancer Society, welcome to our What Sold on eBay video. Definitely check it out and subscribe if you're not subscribed. Anyone new to the channel, what I do is I go over items that have been sold in our charity shop, and there's lots of great bolos, and you might learn a thing or two. If you are old or new and anywhere in between, we really appreciate it. But real quick, help the algorithm out. Go down there, click the like button. Let's get right into it. First up today, we have some vintage Revere. It's Revere. Revere wear from the famous Paul Revere. As you can see here, this is what the logo looks like here, and this stuff was produced in the 80s and the 90s. And I don't even know if they still produce this stuff anymore, but the main thing is, definitely look out. This stuff is like at pretty much at every garage sale and estate sale and things like that. So just look out for cookware in general, and usually if you flip it upside down, and just look out for, just make sure there's no heavy wear or anything like that. If you're going to resell, for the most part, people want stuff that's in halfway decent condition. I mean, you can clean a lot of this stuff up and anything, but shipping's going to be another pain in the ass, though. So just remember that when you're listing these things, kind of take it all in consideration, the weight and the dimensions when you're purchasing these items. But Revere wear is a matter of fact, and the reason why I really wanted to show this is kind of like just your average sale. Paul Revere made some silver spoons in the 1700s. He was a silversmith, so definitely look out for some of the original silver created by Paul Revere. That stuff is worth thousands of dollars. And if you're like, in the Virginia area, in the East Coast, you're probably stumble upon, if you're going to stumble upon it, it's definitely going to be East Coast. But anyways, I just want to let you all know that stuff's out there, and someone might not know what they have. And like some of those spoons go for like $1,000 a piece, if not more. And that's just for one spoon. Next up, we have this Doug Sweet. This is a marble paperweight. Look at the colors on this thing. It looks like candy. So, I mean, perfect name, Doug Sweet, for a marble paperweight. And this is what his signature looks like on the bottom. And what's nice about glass makers is usually they'll engrave their names on the bottom, or etch their names on the bottom. I guess it would be called engraving. I think etching is like an acid type of deal, where etching, or not etching, scribing is when you actually scrape it in there. There's a little machine that's like almost like a Dremel that you can actually scratch your name in there. So anyway, anyways, the main thing is this stuff, you can find these all day long at estate sales and stuff like that. When it comes to paperweights, condition is everything, unless it's like a real famous artist. Usually you want to find these things that don't have, a lot of chipping and everything. Unfortunately, when you find these things at garage sales and estate sales, they've been through the ringer. So with these particular items, condition is everything. And so if you can get something that even looks cool and you can't quite read what it says on the bottom, and they're selling it for like $1 or $2, just buy it, because I've seen some of these paperweights go for hundreds of dollars. Now, your average price of a paperweight is going to be, between $20 and $30. But if people are selling them for cheap and the quality, and it just something jumps out at you, definitely pick them up. But anyways, paperweights are definitely a Bolo item for sure. Next up, we have this woman's Boulevard watch. And I kind of wanted to show this watch. This watch sold for $49.99. It didn't work. It probably just needed a battery. A lot of these watches are just battery driven. But I wanted to say, the watch market over the last couple years for men's watches has been really, really hot. But on the flip side, the women's watch market has really kind of taken a dive lately. So, if you have a choice between picking up a nice men's watch or a women's watch, just kind of double think that through, as women's watches are definitely a more long tail item than a men's watch, and all that stuff. And I find women these days, the newer generations, they don't really kind of wear watches too much anymore. I mean, even jewelry, really, when you really think about it, is kind of the same way. But definitely look out for watches if they're in good condition, especially some of the name brands, and definitely get familiar what some of the name brands. And Boulevard has been around for, geez, I want to say like 80 years. So, there's some vintage watches from the 40s and the 50s, and I think it was 80 years. I don't know. They've been around for a long time. Don't quote me on that, but I've seen some stuff that is pretty old from this particular brand. So keep definitely a lookout for those. Next up, we have this vintage Baccarat French glass. We've talked about lots of glass over the years on this channel, and I've grown to kind of love glass in a way, but kind of hate glass in a way because shipping it and all that stuff can cause problems, and I've had more problems. I don't want to say I had more problems than I had successes. I've had lots of successes over the years with glass. I just don't like shipping it because it's just so fragile. And some of these pieces, when they get into like almost $1,000, is when I almost have a heart attack every time I'm packing these things up, praying to the glass gods that they actually make it to their destinations. Anyways, Baccarat is a Bolo brand. It is kind of definitely up there with Lalique, and if you're familiar with Lalique, you should be familiar with Baccarat. And they do a lot of cool stuff. What's different from Lalique? Oh, I want to say Lalique. Contemporary Lalique has a lot of statues and figures now. Back in the day, it was just like basically vases and things like that. Baccarat has some really nice figurines and things like that, paperweights and stuff. So your chances are you're probably going to see one of their bird paperweights and stuff like that. Like the Baccarat vases are pretty hard to find, especially in the wild. This stuff could be found at Goodwills and estate sales and garage sales sometimes. And they're just really high quality. And just like with anything glass, just make sure there's no repairs, cracks, or chips, because that will bring the price down substantially. So look out for Baccarat. Next up, we have this black Parker pen. This is the bicentennial, the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, 1976. So basically some time ago. And I really wanted to show this because we got a huge collection of Parker pens in. And if you're not familiar with Parker pens, some of the vintage ones go for crazy, crazy, crazy money. Not all of them, I would say like 80% of them, go for average prices. What was very nice about this collection, and that was my inventory number because there were so many of them. Oh, and this is kind of like a little trick that I do. I've never shared this actually with anyone. So on Amazon, you can buy a roll of stickers that are like they're 1 to 1,000. They're 1,000 numbers. They're all like 1, 2, 3. And what I do is for some certain lots that I have just way too much stuff to keep track of, I'll just basically inventory label them so that I know, oh, that's number 12. And I even put it in the title here, number 12. In addition to our inventory system, this is like a double inventory system. So we'll have in the custom SKU, basically like the location, the box, the bin, and then this 0012 would be like since there were so many of these, it's a good trick. Like I've never actually made a video or explained this to anyone, but it's a good trick to have double inventory kind of situations, especially when you had, we had like 5 dozen of these boxes and they were all different. So it was just go into the bin, find number 12, pull it out. It was so much easier. Basically measure twice, cut once for any of the handy men and women out there. Anyways, sidetracking them. Anyways, Parker pens, definitely look out for them. Some of them are worth a crazy amount of money. And that's what I was going to say. What was nice about these is it was a pen collector who collected pens for, I don't know, 50 years, 60 years, and the collection was donated to us. And a lot of the pens were like prototypes and stuff that wasn't even used ever. So that was a whole other thing in itself. And some of those pins actually sold for a pretty good amount of money. Next up, we have this Kings jersey. Now, for the most part, I just wanted to show, like, there's lots of money out there. These jerseys could be found very easily at garage sales and Goodwills and different kind of thrift shops and estate sales. And quality is everything. Champion is doing some pretty good quality ones. This one sold for $40. And of course, like it's the, with basketball jerseys, it's like the team and the player. And, there's a lot of teams that aren't very popular, like I can't even really think, like maybe the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm sorry for any Milwaukee Bucks fans out there, but that's just an example of like a team that I might pass. The thing is, like, Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and all those other kind of Hall of Fame people that you've heard about are the jerseys to kind of look out for and things like that. But jerseys actually still sell pretty well. And I would say like they're kind of seasonal too. Like during basketball season, you're definitely going to have a better sell through rate. And that goes with any kind of sports things, is you can time it. Like for me, during after baseball season, which is through the winter, I won't list any baseball cards or any baseball bobbleheads. I won't list anything. And I know people might think that's a little crazy, but I've been doing this for, geez, a long time. And I've noticed that, you get better sale through rates when, you list. I mean, you can put something on eBay and have it be evergreen and just it relists and relists and relists and relists. But what I'm saying is, if you have the opportunity to kind of wait on that stuff and list it all at once during the season, like, a little bit into the new season or the halfway through the season, all the way through the end of the season, it's probably the best idea to do. So anyways, that's another kind of pro tip there. Next up, we have this 1991 Impel Star Trek official trading cards. These were, if I don't know if you, what was that? Was it Trekkies? For anyone who likes documentaries, you got to watch Trekkies. It's about the Star Trek conventions, and these cards were actually featured in part of that documentary, where it's like these cards first came out and people were like, going crazy because there's like some hologram cards in here, and like now they're not worth really anything. Even during the sports card boom that we had last year, these things still aren't worth that much. I mean, I think there might be one hologram in this box. It's a sealed booster box, or I guess you wouldn't call it a booster box. It's a trading card box. Booster packs and booster boxes are usually nomenclature for, like trading card games. So anyways, these are collectible trading cards. They're not really Pokemon games or anything, but I wanted to show this. It's sold for $14. Don't every time. So if you see like a whole thing of sealed cards, don't get excited. It's like, oh, Star Trek. Like, people are gonna go crazy for this. Do your research. I think that's probably, like, if anyone asked me like what my number one tip is for a reseller, is do your research. I can't tell you how many times I've bought something on a whim. Just kind of, not even having that gut feeling, but just kind of playing off like, oh, it's Star Wars, or oh, it's Star Trek, it's got to sell, and being stuck with some items for years before you donate them or liquidate them or do whatever with them. So anyways, not everything's a winner, so that's what I wanted to show this particular piece for. Next up, speaking of silver spoons, these aren't Paul Revere ones. These would be thousands of dollars if they were. This is a set of 6 spoons marked Muntz. I think that's a German name. Let me see if I know there's a marking here. I can't tell. Anyways, the main reason why I wanted to show these spoons is it has the 800 mark. Now, not everything is going to be marked 925 for sterling. 800, I believe, is a European mark, and it means 80% silver. 925, which is sterling, is 92.5% silver. If you see 800, basically 20% other metal, alloy or whatever, and it still has some value. And so, like, one of the things is, at garage sales, sometimes people will just sell this and think it doesn't say sterling, or it doesn't say 925, so therefore it must be not silver. And so chances are, if someone's uneducated, you're going to be able to score on these particular things. And so this is 800 silver. So now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Next up, we have this Paul McCartney World Tour 1989. Oh man, 1989, can I tell you? 1990, what a year. Anyways, Paul McCartney, everyone knows about old vintage concert shirts. These ones were actually yellowing and not in the greatest condition. They still sold pretty well. And so, as we can see here, and I know, like, for the most part, like, you can sell vintage shirts that are literally have holes in them for good money. But I think like if these ones were in better condition, they probably would have, sold a lot better. As you can see here, here's the paper tag made in the USA. Oh, let's talk about that. So if you don't know about vintage t-shirts, the thing you really want to look for are paper tags. Well, they're not paper, they're like fabric tags, let's say. I call them paper tags. I don't know why. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe people do call them paper tags. If they call them paper tags in the collector, if you're a t-shirt collector, what do they call these type of tags? I call them paper tags. I've always called them paper tags, but I guess they're fabric tabs. Anyways, if they say made in the USA, definitely take another look at them because that's usually the vintage stuff. Back in the day when we actually made our own shit, you know what I mean? Like everything's made out of China and Taiwan now. It's so, don't get me started. We'll just leave, you know what? We'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that. America, let's make more stuff. We're gonna have to. We're gonna have to. That's just a little pro tip right there. Anyways, it sold for $47. Look out for vintage concert t-shirts. Once again, I'm Chris, the Thrift Shop Hustler. I love you. Thank you for tuning in. If you've made it this far, let me know in the comments below. I made it to the end. I'm curious who actually watches this whole thing. My analytics will show 5 minutes average view duration, which I guess is not bad for like a 15-minute video. It's like a third way through, right? But if you have made it, I'm going to bless you with, leave a comment, let me know, and I'm going to bless you with financial success. No promises, but I will leave you with a little blessing, and I do appreciate you. Anyways, I'm Chris, the Thrift Shop Hustler. We'll see you next time. Take care.